Welcome to Toni Unleashed, the podcast where we unleash the truth about all things pets.
Our research and anecdotal evidence matched with pet expert interviews will help you help your pet thrive.
We are here to answer questions, divulge information, and spread awareness about what's really going on in the world of pets.
I am your co-host, Emily Taylor, pet nutrition enthusiast.
And I'm Toni Shalasky, owner of Healthy Pet Products with 3 locations in the Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania area, and recently expanded to Port Charlotte, Florida.
Welcome to the show.
Hi, and welcome back to another episode of Toni Unleashed, the podcast. We are welcoming back our good friend Carrie from Lotus. We've done a previous episode with her talking all about baked kibble and the benefits of feeding your dog less processed kibble than extruded kibble. Today we continue that conversation, but we are amping it up and talking about their raw food for cats. We strongly believe that feeding your cats raw food is the best way to feed. They are obligate carnivores and need high moisture, high animal protein diets to thrive. Carrie will talk with us in depth on why it is so important to feed your cats this way and what options Lotus has for you.
Hi, Carrie. Thank you so much for being on the show again.
Hi, guys. Thank you for having me.
It's always so nice to talk with you. We always learn so much, and we're excited to talk about cats. It's been a minute since we've talked about cats and since we've done a cat episode, and we don't want to leave our cat people hanging. So this will be really refreshing. We'll kind of touch base on, the basics on why less processed food and like high moisture content, high animal protein is really good for cats. And we'll talk about, specifically your food and what you have to offer these cat people. And maybe we'll throw in any recommendations you have in transitioning cats over from maybe like a kibble, a can, to a raw food as well, if you feel comfortable talking about it.
Yeah, definitely. Talking about cat nutrition is my biggest passion in the pet industry. So I'm excited to be here and talking with you guys about this tonight.
Yay. Awesome. Carrie, can you explain the difference between a raw diet and a commercial cat food, highlighting the specific benefits of raw feeding for feline health?
Yeah, so a commercial diet, or otherwise known as a dry kibble for cats, is typically processed with high heat, pressure, and it's done very rapidly, and it denatures a lot of the nutrients. We do make an oven-baked kibble for cats, so it is a little bit different. But what both have in common is that it's a dry food. So it is void of pretty much all moisture, which is very important for cats. In a perfect world, all of our cats would eat raw food. So that's why we made one. Our raw food is 95% meat. So that's going to include the muscle from said animal. So we'll talk about chicken because that's one that everybody knows about. So it'll have chicken in it. It's usually chicken breast, chicken thighs, and then we have chicken heart and chicken livers in there. So chicken heart and chicken liver are the most nutrient dense organs that you can put into a food for the cat. So that's why we use that. It pretty much covers all of the nutrients that they need. So our raw diets are considered a limited ingredient diet. There's no vitamin pack in the raw food because of the heart and liver being in there. So, but going back to the moisture thing, cats are desert animals and they're obligate carnivores. So an obligate carnivore means that they just cannot use any carbohydrates in their diet. They really should be having an all meat and fat diet. So that's why we do 95% meat in our raw food. And as a desert animal, cats wouldn't be getting any of their moisture by drinking. Cats' tongues, we talked about this on the last episode, but cats' tongues are totally different from a dog's tongue. Cat's tongue kind of have that like Velcro hook on it, and that's for pulling meat off of the bones, but those tongues are not efficient for drinking. So cats should be getting all of their moisture from the food that they eat. So any moisture that you can get into a cat's diet, either via canned or raw food, is going to be really beneficial.
And back to the whole cats not eating starches, they lack the enzyme to digest starches, right?
Yeah, it's the enzyme called amylase, I believe is how you pronounce that. While dogs do have that enzyme in their stomach, cats simply don't. So their bodies just cannot use carbohydrates or starches at all.
So We also see a lot of, two things I wanted to bring up while we're talking about this. The difference between animal protein and plant-based protein, because I think if we're going to go back to talking about kibble, we often see that there's a protein content in there, but it can be combined with animal and plant-based protein, right?
It can be. The way that AFCO's requirements are right now, there is no differentiation between protein that comes from animals or protein that comes from plants, which is a problem for cats.
Yes, which is a problem for cats. For first and foremost, when you're looking at kibbles for your cats, let's keep this in mind. What is Lotus's cat kibble percentage? Do you know off the top of your head?
Our percentages are about 38%, I believe. I can pull that up and look at it really quick here, but it is in the high 30s. So AFCO does have different requirements for cat food versus a dog food. And cats, they did get it right saying that cats need higher protein in the food. So our protein is 34 or 35, right in that range there.
So I think that's really good, just talking about, we know that Lotus is a really high quality food and has a really great kibble for cats, and they focus on raw and canned. So I think that's really good for our listeners to keep in mind when they're out in the world looking.
It is good to keep it in mind for sure. Yeah. Yes. I would say that most cat owners out there feed kibble. A lot of cat owners get cats because they're kind of on the easier side to take care of. So they want to, scoop the kibble up once a week and wait until the cat's crying at them to fill it back up. So that is common for people to feed kibble.
Yeah. It's hard because, then we see from these kibble eating cats a higher percentage of UTIs and bladder issues and diabetes,
renal failure, and so many issues.
Yes, those issues stem from
chronic dry food,
diabetes, UTIs, crystals, all those sorts of things is just due to a lack of moisture in their diet.
And I'm on catinfo.org right now.
That is where I learned everything that I know about cat food.
It's an amazing website.
It's amazing. And it's written by a vet.
Yep.
So it's really reputable.
Yes. I usually tell people when I recommend that website to customers, I say, grab a box of tissue and go to this website.
Yeah, it is emotional because I always tell people you don't know what you don't know. So if they're feeding kibble and they think they're doing the best, then they likely are doing the best of their knowledge.
I think that's a really, really great way to put it.
But this website is phenomenal for anybody looking to expand their information about cat feeding and just the basics of cat health, because they really are different from dogs.
Well, it says right here, think of canned food as flushing out your cat's bladder several times each day, which is going to help prevent the crystals, UTIs, everything. I mean, we drink water, and that happens to us when we're drinking a lot of water or eating a lot of high moisture foods as well, and that's beneficial for our urinary tract.
Yes, it is. And if cats are picky. They're what's considered an imprint eater. So whatever they start eating from when they wean off mom is what they're going to be partial to for their whole entire life. So if you are getting a kitten, the best possible thing that you can do for them is feed them a variety of foods, including canned food, raw food, and kibble if you want.
So I've always known that they are imprint eaters, but do we know why they get imprinted on? Because they even imprint on the shape of the kibble. I wonder why.
Yeah.
I wonder what the philosophy is or the science is behind that.
Yeah, that is really interesting.
Cats are successful hunters that rarely need to scavenge and therefore have evolved into what are known as imprint eaters. Domesticated cats usually eat the same thing that they were introduced to as a kitten throughout their entire lives. And that comes from primal pet food, which we know and we love.
Interesting.
Yeah. I'm looking on this info too and seeing if there's anything. They do have transitioning dry food addicts to canned food. So that is a great tab.
That is a great tab to have. Yeah, it is. It can be very tricky transitioning cats, especially older cats, from kibble to canned to raw, but it is possible. but persistence and patience.
That
is
the pet
key.
parent has to be patient and has to be persistent about it, and has to use all those little tricks that we know. You know, you put the little bit of either raw food or canned food, a dollop, and then cover it with their kibble. There's
There's multiple different ways that you can go about transitioning cats that are just, they don't want anything. I've heard that you can put a separate bowl next to their kibble of the canned food or the raw food, whatever you're trying to transition to, and keep it separate so that they can get used to the smell, because they're used to smells. And if their food doesn't smell like what they interpret food to be, they're not going to want to eat it.
Oh, interesting.
You have to introduce them to the smell. And then there's just a lot of factors for cats. So the smell, the taste, the texture. There's so many different things.
I don't think I've ever had a customer tell me that their cat, they wanted to transition their cat to raw food from kibble, and that it went like easy peasy, done deal.
Yeah. That is
Ever.
very common. Yeah, it definitely takes time. Usually I would recommend going from even just introducing canned food into rotation while you're feeding kibble to get your cat used to it. And then you can slowly wean off of kibble and then transition onto the raw. It'll be easier to transition onto raw from a canned food than it will be a kibble.
And you can even mix a little bit of that raw with the canned, right?
Yes, definitely.
Yeah.
I heard, dipping a little bit of the new food on the paw because they have to clean themselves.
Yeah.
They'll like force them to lick it. I mean, I think that technique paired with your technique. But what I will say to circle it back to Lotus is my cat is obsessed with the sardine.
Oh, yeah?
Obsessed with it.
That's awesome.
It was like to the point of like aggression.
Wow.
Yeah. Like I could not open up that tub quicker.
Wow, that's amazing. I love to hear that. That's our newest recipe. That's actually the only recipe that we have that's a little bit different from the original 6. So we took whole sardines for that one and we ground it up. So that one does technically have ground bone in it because you can't pull the little bones out of the sardines. But the phosphorus level is still pretty low in that.
Yeah, it's incredible. I mean, I did what you said, like, when we got him as a kitten, I put him on a variety of cans and like some kibble and some raw. So he's like the garbage disposal of the household. He'll eat anything. But you can tell when he's like obsessed with something. Like it's you can tell when they like are tolerating something and then when they want to devour something.
Yeah, absolutely. My cat is exclusively fed our raw food, and you can just tell that his preferred flavor is the venison. Like I have chicken right now for him and he's eating it and he's fine, but I can tell that he's like, I'd rather have the venison.
Yeah. Yeah. So that brings us to our next question. So we've already touched on cats are obligate carnivores, which means their bodies are designed for a diet that's primarily composed of animal protein. That's where they get their vitamins, their moisture, and their minerals, ideally. Because dogs can, eat some fruits, vegetables, carbs, stuff like that. So how does Lotus, we just talked about, using whole fish, whole sardines in the food, but how does Lotus mirror this way of feeding for cats? And what is the recipes like of these?
So the recipes are, like I mentioned, 95% meat. They are muscle, heart, and liver. And then we do use some other ingredients to round out the diets nutritionally. So we use something called Tarula yeast, which is a non-active yeast that provides essential vitamins like thiamine, which is a B vitamin. And then we also use something called dulce powder, which provides more micronutrients. But as far as mirroring what they would eat in the wild, I would say it doesn't mirror it exactly because it's not rodent formula or lizard formula, but it does meet their requirements for what they need. There's no ground bone in our diets, and we did that so that we could precisely formulate them to be appropriate for growing kittens through seniors, and no fruits or veggies either, of course, because they're of the obligate carnivore.
So Lotus can be fed, the raw Lotus can be fed kitten to senior.
Yes,
No?
it's a
Okay.
complete diet for all life stages. Yes.
Okay.
I think that's really good because
Yeah.
there's a lot of, I know in like healthy pet products particularly, there's not a ton of like kitten options.
Right.
That say, I mean, there are a ton of kitten options, but none that say like kitten on it.
Yeah. The AFCO statement is for all life stages, which is great.
Yeah. Do you want to talk about, I mean, I guess the importance of, even though we're not like feeding lizards and like mice, something to like add to what we've already been talking about is the benefit of adding these like really high quality chickens and venisons that you talked about, is they contain complete and essential amino acids that aren't denatured in the process of.
Yeah, exactly. So the all of our meat is human grade and USDA passed for human consumption. And like I said before, the heart and the liver and all of the muscle that go in there really is almost everything that the cat needs for their complete diet. So there is no vitamin pack in our raw food. It all comes from natural sources.
Love it. That's
Yeah.
awesome.
Yeah. And like this is sidebar from like Lotus, but talking about it, my cat from feeding raw over the years will also devour just a raw heart and a raw liver. And I like feel so good about just giving that to him. I'm like, I'm adding years on his life, I feel like.
Yes, so do I. So we live in South Florida, so there's a lot of fishing that goes on here, and we'll get fresh catch. And my cat will eat the fresh catch too. He goes insane for that.
The head and everything.
Head, no.
No, like the fillet. Like if we have little
Okay.
left over, yeah, he sits there and lives for that.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I bet.
Because I mean, some cats that I like, some of my friends who have cats will feed like really good foods and like canned food and stuff. But I'm like, do you want to try this organ? And they're like, my cat would never. And it's like, well, yeah, you can tell. Like once you get used to feeding them raw, then they'll start going crazy.
Yeah,
for that stuff.
it's so common for cats to be so picky. Like they won't want to eat the cat food, but they'll come up and grab a piece of pizza and run across.
Yeah.
So, Carrie, what do you think? Any thoughts on unique dietary needs? So, if we have customers that have a cat with allergies or potential food sensitivities or something going on, do you, out of your formulas, are any of them targeted for any specific ailments?
I would say the whole line is targeted for specific ailments. Honestly, moving a cat from a kibble to a raw diet can help improve their lives drastically. My favorite thing is saying that Lotus is helping pets not just survive, but thrive, especially cats on a raw diet. So our food doesn't have any ground bone in it. So the phosphorus levels are going to be pretty low. We've had multiple customers let us know that they're feeding our raw diet for their cats that have chronic kidney disease. Because on a dry matter basis, our phosphorus is about 1% in all of them, except for the sardine. It's a little bit higher. It's like 1.5. So a lot of customers will seek out a food that doesn't have ground bone in it to help their cats that have the chronic kidney disease, because the kidneys is what processes bone and excess minerals. Also for cats that have like diabetes, getting all of the carbohydrates out of their diet is going to be very beneficial for them. The added moisture content for cats that have chronic UTIs. Honestly, the list just goes on and on.
Mhm.
Pretty much every ailment that a cat has is due to improper feeding.
100% agree.
Mm-hmm.
100%.
I will say what Lotus does a really good job of, and what I have found myself talking about Lotus to customers about over and over again, is like there are people who just really do not want to feed canned or raw, even though we're all saying that's the best way to feed. But you guys offer a really awesome kibble option that like we can guilt-free recommend to people, and that also furthermore fit restrictions that like their vets are giving them as well. And then it's like, okay, you want to amp it up? Here's a really awesome canned food that we like really highly amp it up again. Here's a really great raw food.
Yeah, that's exactly, I always say in a perfect world, every cat would eat a raw food, but it's not a perfect world. So then you can step down into cans. I completely understand the cat owners out there that don't want to feed raw. There definitely is a inconvenient factor to it. You have to thaw it, scoop it. You can't just put it in a bowl and go like kibble. And some people think that canned food doesn't smell great. So I get it. I do understand. There's a lot of people that want to feed kibble, and feeding an oven baked kibble is going to be the best option because it's less processed.
Yeah.
I do have to say, I think it's encouraging because over the years, I do hear customers coming in saying that even their vets are recommending wet food.
Whoa.
And, yeah.
And that's it's okay. Can I just, this is like another sidebar. Pittsburgh and Pennsylvania, for you to say that, and we're in Pittsburgh and Pennsylvania, we're like a couple years behind some of them.
Not a couple.
Okay.
10.
I didn't want to be rude. I agree, but I
didn't want to be 10.
I know. Okay. We're like 10 years behind, like the Californias, the Oregons, the Colorados, even like to New York to an extent. And for us to hear that now, like that makes me have so much hope that the other parts of the country are like really already
feeding way more raw food.
Yeah, it's great. I mean, our raw food is doing phenomenal. So we know that there's a lot of people.
And you're a California-based company, right?
We are, Southern California.
So, I mean, what are like, I mean, we can put this off record.
I wonder if there's pockets of areas that do the best.
I see you're going to find this shocking, but I see a lot of rural areas doing better.
Really?
Than big cities.
Wow.
Yeah.
Huh. That's great.
I know. It is great.
Any success stories you want to share? What else was on your agenda, Carrie, as far as educating our listeners?
Just reiterating the need for moisture in a cat's diet is definitely the most important thing. Feeding a raw food, you can see huge changes in your cats, even from behavior. One thing that I think is very important for a lot of cat owners out there is litter box odor. I will say that because my cat Max is exclusively raw fed, there is literally zero litter box odor. So when you get really pungent litter box smell, it's usually from a buildup of ammonia in the diet or in the urine from the diet, again, because there's not enough moisture in the diet. And when cats poop on a raw diet, they're pooping so little, and there really is just no smell. So I know that even there's some reluctant dog owners out there that want a cat, but they don't want a litter box in their house. Feeding raw is definitely the way to go because you will not smell it at all. As far as success stories, we have a lot of really great customer feedback on our website. So we had some people write in and say that their 18-year-old cat with kidney issues, the low phosphorus with no ground bone in our food helped them. And there was another customer who had a cat that had megacolon, which is something that can happen with raw fed because there's not a lot of fiber in it. But we actually put two different forms of fiber in our raw food. So we do psyllium husk and we do miscanthus grass. You have one soluble and one insoluble form of fiber. So that can help with that a lot. We just have a lot of cats that have allergies. Raw food, specifically like the venison formula, can help a lot with allergies because it's a novel protein.
And single source protein?
They're all single source protein, yes. It's really amazing to see the cuts of meat that come into our cannery and our raw room. It is absolutely amazing to see what's going into this pet food.
And I've actually seen them because I've been in the cannery.
You have. Yes, you have.
Yeah. So I do have to say, Lotus, when did Lotus start?
We're actually celebrating our 20th year in business this year, which is really great.
Wow.
Yeah. Whoa. And how long have you been there for?
I've been with Lotus for over 8 years now.
Wow.
So I think I've had Lotus for maybe 10.
Okay.
I don't know for sure, but at least 10 years. And I do want to share that I mean, the food is phenomenal. Whether you're feeding or thinking about feeding the kibble, the canned, the raw food. And I have incredible support from Carrie and her boss, who's the owner, Darren. So that is a big factor in how I choose the brands that I represent is the kind of support that I get from the company, and you guys are always there for me. Darren and I have a great relationship. Carrie, you've always been there for me. We have a great relationship, so it's nice to be able to say that to customers.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
I do know what you mean. I worked in pet retail for 11 years before coming on board with Lotus, and I sold a lot of Lotus in store before I ever worked for Lotus,
Yeah.
which is awesome. But it's really amazing to see the pet industry evolve and still be a part of a family-owned company. No investors, no private equity, none
Yep.
of that.
Yeah.
Yes.
That's refreshing.
That's all we hear anymore.
I know.
This past show was private equity. Nothing's changing. Yeah, sure.
I was reading on this catinfo.org some really awesome ways to get your cat to stop being addicted to like that crunch factor.
Tell us.
So keeping in mind that we're trying to get them off of the crunch and more into eating soft, high moisture foods, offering cooked or raw, just chicken or meat or baby food. It's a great source of just like protein to start adding so they get used to that texture, that change in texture. Another one is to sprinkle a very small amount of tuna, because cats typically all really love tuna, on their favorite food or treat. So then they start really liking the tuna, and then you transition that tuna onto a new food. So they already have like a really positive experience with the tuna on a food they already like or on a treat they already like. And then you transition it to a new food, and then you start mixing in that tuna deeper and deeper into the food, and then start weaning them off the food and keeping off the tuna. Yep, and keeping them on the food.
And the juice even would be beneficial, and not even necessarily the tuna meat sometimes. You know what I mean? Like
they also recommended Parmesan cheese instead of tuna to do like that same thing.
Interesting. I wonder if nutritional yeast would work.
Oh, I might try that with my cat actually.
My cat will eat anything, so I can't try things with him because I know he's going to eat everything and anything.
Yeah.
Did you have your kitten from Kittenhood?
Yeah. I had my kitten from the woods, just a product litter of the woods, and I had worked at Healthy Pet Products for like 5 years.
Yeah, so you knew.
She was already brainwashed.
What does your cat look like?
Just a domestic, like the kind that's like different colors and then white. I mean, he's
like a calico.
No, like the brown, gray. Yeah, just a basic cat.
Got it. I have heard that orange male cats, which is what my cat is, are the least pickiest cats out there.
Interesting.
Yeah, I don't know what causes that, but yeah, I heard that. So it is definitely rare to have a cat that will eat anything, but I will say, just like you, Emily, I started off with all the different things.
Mm-hmm. And I will say, to what you were saying before on like how the health issues are due to like poor diets, my husband was like very stuck in the mindset that cats had to have that crunch and like have to have kibble. And so I like entertained that for a little bit. And I mean, along with feeding raw and canned and everything, but he had back-to-back UTIs. And then after the second one, I was like, we're done. Like I was like, absolutely no more kibble is coming into this house.
Yeah.
And after that, no UTIs.
Yeah, that absolutely happens. I do have experience with that as well. The previous cat, before I worked for Lotus, when I was working in retail, raw fed, and I must have gone on vacation or something like that and left kibble out and came home to UTI. And the vet was, gotta, put him on this diet. That. And I was like, I actually know the problem, and I promise we won't be back. And we never were.
I never went to the vet. Yeah. I was, because same with you. I'm like, well, we'll just
get off. So you cleared it up just from eliminating the kibble, you think?
I eliminated the kibble and I eliminated canned. And I just went to raw. Wow. I mean, he had been exposed to it earlier. I mean, I just had a plethora of stuff. And I was like,
not even a supplement?
I didn't do a supplement.
Wow.
I just did raw. And I was like,
that's amazing.
And it cleared up very quickly, and it has not been back. And it's been a couple of years.
Yeah, it definitely makes all the difference in the world. A lot of our cats are sick, a lot of them. Another thing to touch on is cat dental health.
Thank you.
Huge.
That cats have to have kibble in order to clean their teeth, which is like the biggest myth and the silliest thing to hear about constantly. But So because kibble has to have some form of carbohydrate in it in order to hold it together, although it wouldn't hold together if it didn't have any form of carbohydrate in it.
I mean, it's baking. You're baking.
Yes.
Bakers eat it.
The carbohydrates is what sticks to the teeth,
Mm-hmm.
and that's what causes tooth decay, and all that. And on the opposite side, raw food, although it doesn't have any carbohydrates, it has live and enzymes in it that help break down the plaque and tartar on the teeth. My cat's teeth, he's like 4 now, but his teeth they look like kitten teeth. Yeah. So the enzymes that are in raw food does help significantly more than a kibble ever will for dental
When
health.
I'm trying to explain that to a customer, I usually say, how when you eat pretzels, how all those pretzels stick up in your gum line and you have to take your finger or toothpick and pick it out. Same thing happens with kibble.
Yes,
and
that is a good way to do it.
And we don't floss our cat's teeth or our dog's teeth. So it just sticks there.
Yeah.
So
yep, and that raw food it doesn't stick.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So
also, what's your experience with hairballs? Because I do not have hairball problem.
I don't have hairball problems either. My cat has never thrown up. I know that that's a huge thing in the cat world, is cats that constantly throw up, and that I believe can also be fixed by having a proper moisture-rich raw diet.
Totally.
Yeah.
So my cat does throw up, but I do notice it's only happens when I'm giving him that food he really likes and he scarfs it down. So as long as I know I give him a little bit and then an hour later I give him a little bit more, we don't have an issue with it. But I've had my cat for like 4 or 5 years. I've seen 2 hairballs.
Wow.
I haven't seen any, honestly, 0.
That speaks volumes.
Yeah.
Volumes.
I think so too.
I wouldn't even know what a hairball was.
I know.
So Carrie, go ahead.
Yeah. What my previous cat before this, she had really long white hair, and she even didn't have hairballs after she got transitioned onto raw. This was before Lotus had a raw food, so I was feeding another brand. But yeah, it does speak volumes.
Have you ever had company that that they were allergic to cats? And did they react?
No, I actually think that my boyfriend is allergic to cats, and this cat is obsessed with him. And there's no reaction.
And you live together?
Yes.
Oh, there you go.
Yeah, when he was a child, he had some neighbors that had a whole bunch of cats and had like breathing issues and all that. And there's no problem here.
Yeah. Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
They emit a different type of dander.
Mm-hmm.
So
yes.
Interesting. So interesting. Raw is the way to go. Wet is the way to go. Eliminate the kibble if you can. Lotus is an amazing company.
Oh, wait, we didn't talk about, real quick, we didn't talk about the way that you sell your raw in the tubs, which is very different than how anyone else sells their raw.
True.
Yeah, it is. It's pretty different from anybody else. So I like to call it a scoop and serve. So it does come in little white plastic tubs. You thaw the whole thing out. It comes in size 3 and 3.75 ounce tub, which I like to call a single serve, but really that can be like 1 day's worth of feeding for the people that just don't want to mess with raw. And then there's a 16 ounce tub and a 25 ounce tub. So you can thaw it once and portion it if you need to. But otherwise you can just take the tub right out of the freezer, put it in the fridge and let it thaw and just scoop and serve, put the lid right back on. With most other raw companies out there, you have to have like a dedicated Tupperware container. You have to think about pulling out the raw every so often to thaw it. This is just very convenient for me as a seasoned raw feeder to just have the tub and not have to have anything else.
Cool.
And I can attest to the fact that it does not leak blood.
It does not. Yes. Yeah. We get questions a lot actually about like from retailers that haven't carried our raw product before. If the tubs break, we don't have any problems with the tubs, like the lids breaking or anything when they're frozen. Because frozen plastic can be a concern for breaking, but that's not an issue at all.
Yeah. We've never had that issue at the store, on the store end, at least.
Yeah.
So,
but there's a lot of packaging out there that you can't trust, that isn't going to leak and like expose your other refrigerated stuff too.
Definitely.
Yeah.
Yes, I have never had. Usually, I'm a meat on the bottom shelf girl, just in case, like
Smart.
when you buy your meat. But I keep my raw food up and higher up, and I have never had an instance of it leaking.
Yeah.
Awesome. All right. Do you want to share with our listeners website, social media handles, anything else?
Yes. Do you guys want me, before I do that, do you guys want me to talk about HPP?
Oh, sure.
Oh, actually, that would be really refreshing because we haven't really talked about it.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Didn't even think about it.
Yeah.
Yep.
So our food does go through a kill step. It's called HPP, or high pressure pasteurization. And it's a cold press process. So what happens is the tubs will get loaded with the recipe. They get sealed, and then they go to an HPP facility where the tubs go down into a bath of cold water, and they just put some pressure on it, and that will help kill any pathogens. So salmonella, listeria, things like that, it will kill. But we also had a plate study done on our raw food after the HPP process, and it shows that there are still active enzymes in there and beneficial bacteria, which is one of the most important parts of raw cat food.
Yep. Because a lot of people claim it denatures the protein, but they've proven that it doesn't.
Right.
A lot of people do claim that, yeah.
Yeah.
On the inside part of this industry, and then customers, they can have a concern about raw food because it's raw food, and they are concerned that their pet will get sick. Cats' digestive tract is so short that they actually just don't have the time in the body to even affect them. But for the human side of it, because sometimes humans will touch the raw food or whatever the case might be, that's why we HPP, so that there is no risk of salmonella, listeria, or any of those other pathogens. And then we do get everything third-party tested before we release to distribution.
Cool. Awesome.
Like, I hope what people take away and learn from this is that because cats are obligate carnivores, is their digestive tract is created to not pick up these scary bacteria that humans will pick up. I mean, their digestive system, it's speedy. Like, it goes right through them. There's no time for any of this. Like, our digestive tract is so much longer than theirs is. And so it's not even comparable.
No, you can't.
Exactly.
And why would they be obligate carnivores if they were just getting salmonella all the time?
Right.
Right. And you think about, like, I know a lot of people compare like a dog to a wolf or things like that. I don't believe there is a high, a lot of wolves out there getting salmonella from eating it.
Well, same with a lion. Like, how can we argue that cats are not descendants from?
Oh, I truly believe that if my cat was like 5 times bigger, I mean, I don't know if I'd be here today.
Yeah.
He bites me all the time.
They haven't evolved that
not personality wise.
Right. Right.
Yeah.
Too funny.
Love them though. Love them for it. I love them for that. I had to bring he will just like, he is bad. He will latch on and like bite me. And so I had to bring a Westpaw toy up when I'm like at the countertop because I'm like, kill this instead.
You have to distract him.
Yeah. It's
so
when he's
funny.
in a mood, you know?
Do you ever give your cat like chicken wing tips to chew on? Because I've heard that that's another really great thing for
well,
mental health.
I don't eat meat, so I don't have that stuff in the house typically. But I am curious to try that next time.
And put him in the bathtub with it.
Yeah.
Have you heard that? You've never heard that tip? Yeah, because in the bathtub, because you can just clean it. Plus, they like to bat it around.
So I do chicken backs in there. After you told me that, I had bought bulk chicken backs from like a local butcher, and I have done that in there.
For Kendrick
just for the
cat?
For the cat.
Yeah?
Mm-hmm.
Good.
Yeah.
Oh, wow. Yeah, I want to try that.
Yeah, let us know. Get a video.
Yeah.
I have heard that using like a dollop of egg yolk in their food can help pass balls too, if customers are, if they don't want to do like the Petramalt or
Yeah.
I'm not even sure honestly what's out on the shelf these days. But if they don't want to do that, a little bit of egg yolk right in their food can help.
Oh, that's good to know.
cats
And to
Thank you.
piggyback on top of that, I recently bought a pack of quail eggs from Costco. Those are perfect for cats.
Yes, I have heard that those are excellent for cats.
And they're the perfect little size. And they are and it comes with like 24, and it's from Costco, and you just throw it in their bowl. Yeah.
Yeah, that actually would probably be the perfect
Yeah.
little thing, just to crack a little quail egg in their food.
Yeah.
Or dog customers do that. Dogs get these elaborate bowls with different sections
Oh,
of
I know.
meat, and, everything else. So
Yeah.
I don't do any of that kind of.
start a trend for cat bowls.
Yeah. Where's our cat bowl, people?
Please don't. I don't do any of that stuff.
Actually, I recently learned that cats can get whisker fatigue if they eat out of a bowl. So they should be eating out of like a plate or a lid.
We talked about that.
We've talked about that for years.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah. I did not know.
There's a Mr. Whiskers is the bowl, right?
Nope.
What is it called?
Nope. Shit.
What is he called? There's a special bowl.
I've carried it forever.
Yeah. It's not Mr. Whiskers?
No. I'll think of it.
It's Mr.
We'll
something.
put it in the show notes.
Okay.
But there's the new pet platter. What's the new platter we bought? But all of our bowls are shallow or plates. And we talk about whisker fatigue all the time.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think that's pretty cool.
I'll think of the name of that bowl, because even the water bowl, and they have it kind of sloped. The food bowl is sloped so that they can lap things up better, and then the water bowl is also it's an interesting design. It's not Mr. Whiskers.
I haven't seen that.
It's gonna drive me nuts.
There needs to be more cat products in stores and more cat customers coming in the stores.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, what I do like about Lotus's canned food for cats is that they can pick up a chunk of like actual chicken meat. They can pick it up out of the bowl, take it off, and chew it that way too, which is really nice.
Yes, and my cat does that frequently.
Yeah.
Well, tell us Lotus website, social media handles.
All right. So our website is www.lotuspetfoods with an S on the end.com. Our Instagram, Facebook, and TikTok are all Lotus Pet Foods. So you can follow us on there and learn more about our line and our brand and who we are and what we do and what our passion is, and help your pets thrive.
Yeah.
Awesome. Carrie, thank you so much for your time.
Thank you.
Talk soon.
Talk soon. Bye.
Bye-bye. We want to give a big shout out to our sound engineer, Brad, from Beacon Sound Systems, LLC. This is the highest quality sound editing, and he knows exactly what to edit. So it's his fault the F-bombs are still in there. You can reach Brad for all your sound editing needs through
Instagram and Facebook. You'll follow at Beacon Sound Systems. Website, www.4beaconsound.com. Phone number, 724-471-2410.
Beacon Sound is a locally owned company in our neck of the woods here in Pittsburgh, PA. So if you're in need of large LED screens, stages, lighting, or sound systems for any occasion, big or small, this is the company for you.
Sounds like a party in one.
And boy, do we need one.